What's up, kings and queens? It's Dan and Luke from Daft Previews, and we're here to preview NRL Round 4 of 2023. Luke, you ready to get amongst it, mate?
I've got some specials this week. I'm ready to rip.
You got some specials? Well, you're going to fucking need them, mate, because I'm back on the left side of the
You
screen.
are.
We're rolling back with accountability. How'd you go last week? We had 4 picks each. How'd you go?
Yeah, we're pretty shit. 1 and 3. I can't sugarcoat it anymore. I went 1 and 3, and let me tell you, I was unlucky not to go 2 and 2. I feel I was very, how can I put it, ripped off. Obviously, Dolphins -4.5, comfortable in the end, which was good.
I said be wary, and you didn't need to be. That was fine.
Yeah, the Rabbits I missed completely. Obviously, Roosters showed up and missed that one. Dogs -9.5. I thought that was my fucking bullshit because for 60 minutes in that game, the Tigers looked like the worst NRL team in history, and then all of a sudden came to life and covered the line.
I thought I had a lot of money on that game, and it looked comfortable for me. I fell asleep on the lounge, woke up, and I had 22 points. I was like, "What the fuck is this? What happened?"
And I can't believe they only won by 4 in the end. So, but I think it also just leans towards maybe they're not the Dogs. Although I don't have them in my 8, but they're not as well off as people think. And then the last one was obviously we went against each other, and you got the win. When I looked after 5 minutes, I was like, "This is going to be a slaughter." At 6-0 Sharks, and then it was all downhill from there for Sharks. The old crash bang play.
I told you. Horsburgh, crash and banging through Cronulla Sharks.
That was literally, again, but they played the way I expected them to. I just thought Cronulla could stop them, but they could not stop Horsburgh barreling over. All their tries, basically. I think they did throw one cutout pass. Whiten did, but it was a suspect pass. But he did also put it out on the full. He did. They played the way I predicted, but still got it wrong. But
it's true. I was watching and I was like, "Fuck, Canberra are lucky." Like Cronulla just throwing the game around. But I said that. I said at home it's going to be a dirty, fucking disgusting game, and Canberra are going to come out. They're going to come out, and they fucking did. The nice red dog. What other things was I right about last week? Titans got the jump on the Storm.
Yeah, got the jump big time on the Storm.
Yeah, bit of a fucking. I told you, mate. Back home at Gold Coast, the Titans, their 70-point games when the Titans play at home. So that was pretty horny.
I think the one for me, which I obviously, as a man who's betting on this, is happy about, but did surprise me, was the Warriors belting the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
Like, I am, as a Cowboys and missed the 8 better, thrilled with that result. My cash out now is basically half of my stake on top of, so I've got a nice juicy cash out option already. But it's okay. Cowboys get another home game this week to redeem themselves against a shit team. Like, this is the Cowboys through and through, and yeah,
that's true. They're just shitting the bed in the second half. Far out. Their second halves are terrible. Speaking of second half, see the last 10 minutes of the Broncos game?
Woo! I did. It was a good game, though. To be fair, the whole 80 minutes was very good, I thought. Both Dragons played very well. Payne Haas, though, fucking hell.
Oh, my God. That last 10 minutes, like that whole game was nerve-wracking for me because I was like, fuck, I knew it. The Dragons always fucking play good against us. This is bullshit. And they were talking about it in commentary. It's like, oh, Payne Haas should be back on by now. He plays 65 minutes on the dot every single week. He's not back on yet. He's not back on. And then he comes on. That 5 minutes really freshened him up, the extra 5 that he had.
It was 2 runs in a row. 2 runs in a row. He broke the line, offload, 2 in a row.
Yeah. Where has this been? Where is he hiding it? Because he does this sometimes.
Yeah, big game this week, though, which we'll preview shortly. But who would have thought Broncos and Dolphins would be top 2 on the ladder after? Even if you look at the 8, take the 8. The only 2 teams who most people were like, yep, definitely going to be in the 8 are the Roosters and Penrith right now. Like, Dogs, Warriors, Dolphins, Broncos were a suspect team. Titans, like, nobody gave Titans a chance of being in the 8. Yeah,
it's fucking wild. It's a good time. Footy's been really good. I've really enjoyed it. Every game's been somewhat okay.
I did hear on the radio yesterday that this has been the closest start to an NRL season since like 70s or something, mid-70s, in terms of the average margin of victory is something like 6 points or something, which is funny because like a year and a half, 2 years ago, we were talking about the blowouts and like they're going, this is the speed of the game. The rules aren't right. The rules haven't changed. I just think, as we said at the start of the year, the gap is closing, but I still don't think it's quite there. But
I think the cream will rise to the top, but it's good footy at the moment. You know, certain teams warming into their season. Some are, going hard right away, and you can see who's going to fold. But no, it's really good. What do we have? Firstly, Lachlan, I see you. Huncho, keep the comments rolling in. Huncho gets a mention straight away. It's got a new player to your concussion. You got an 18th man.
18th man. Yeah, okay. I like that. We need... Is that kind of pointless, having an 18th man in the concussion squad? Like, he's replacing a guy with concussion who's prone to concussion. It's a bit...
Well, I think he's perfect. He fits the mold. Wade Egan. He's been playing really good, but fucking hell. What was it? Who ran him over? Kickout ran him over?
Last week, no, they played Cowboys.
Oh, Cowboys. Oh, Tamalolo, sorry. Tamalolo ran him over? Fucking hell. That was huge. I thought he was milking it, but he was gone. Poor fella. Any other surprises last week you want to mention before we get into this week's preview?
I think Parra is still like the biggest despite. Like, to be fair, I tipped Manly and predicted Manly would win, but their fucking defense is awful.
I know.
Woeful defense.
Yeah, it's shocking. Look, they do have some reinforcements this week. I had a mole on the hill this week. Old mate Stavros.
Yep.
He was training his footy team tonight, and he was watching the Para Boys train, and he was giving it to them. I got a video of it. I can send it to you later, but he was screaming from the sidelines.
Yeah, I'd like to see how defensively they're set up.
Yeah. So look, we'll get into the Para game shortly, I'm sure, but
straight away.
Shortly. You might say I was going to gloat about something, but I looked at the numbers. We're actually tied. So we're both 7-5 picks this season, which, we're somewhat in the green.
Considering now the upsets we've had this year, we just talked about it. To be 7-5, I would take, because, as I said, who would have had Para 0-3? Who would have had Melbourne 1 win, 2 losses, and flogged in those losses? Who would have had the Dolphins on top? They were literally $1.10, $1.08 to miss the top 8. So,
yeah, no, I get you. Before we get into round 1, just a quick sneak peek on something I wanted to show you. Obviously, outside of this show in our Discord, I'm doing double ups on the NRL. So far, after 3 weeks, 14 units profit, a 33% return. I've just based this on having 2 units on each game. My staking methods are a little bit different. I stake a lot more where I'm confident and a bit less when I'm not. But this is just for your generic punters out there. The multis, we're ravaging them. The promo that Sportsbet had was delicious as well. Getting those bonus bets, even milking it for more. But doing very well on a profitable front here. So just want to let you know. Something I'm tracking every single week. So
they on that promo, it's for this Thursday and Friday's games on Sportsbet as well. So still 3
they reduced again. I think Sunday last week they didn't have them. Didn't need to. I sweeped anyway on Sunday, so that was all good. I think. So they're slowly pulling it back. But if you're a smart punter, bounce around, check out multiple bookies, shop some lines, see who's got the best promos out there. Diversify, baby. Daft Previews Finance 101. Diversify. All right. Let's get into some rugby league. Kicking it off on Thursday evening, we've got Penrith versus Parramatta. For some reason, it fucking feels like you verse these wankers all the time. It just...
Lately, yeah.
It's non-stop. Panthers the favourite. 8.5's the line. Parramatta plus 8.5. Parramatta's defence in shambles, leaking 30-plus points in 2 consecutive weeks. Panthers fresh off the bye. I did check the weather on this one, expecting a little bit of rain in the afternoon. Not too much, but there's enough for me not to touch the overs. But there was this big, this bullshit fucking theory around Parramatta's got the edge on Penrith. It's not true. They had a couple good games against them, but last 2 or 3, Penrith have absolutely walloped them.
2.
Is that right? 2? Last 2.
Grand final and prelim final. Yep.
Yeah, that grand final was easy as piss, and the prelim was just as easy. So easily covering this line, Penrith. But what are your thoughts on this one? Maddo's back, I think, for the Eels. Ryan Madison's back.
He's $4,000 richer as well, so he's definitely saved a bit of money.
Yeah.
Man.
He's going to probably put it all on Penrith to cover the line. Smart bloke. And Scott Sorensen back for Penrith. I personally don't have a play on this one. I was a bit unsure. Got to tell you. Unsure.
Yeah, it's a tricky. Like, I don't have a play on it either. I'm unsure because, as I said, Penrith. At some point, Penrith is going to gel in attack. I know what's going to be strong is Penrith's defense. That's one thing that's been consistent. Teams just struggle. Even the high flying Broncos only managed a couple tries against them. So I know it was at Penrith, but there's also, I think, there's obviously the element of a grand final rematch. But again, this Para team, it's not. There's no talk about this being a redemption game. This is just a we need a win game.
Yeah.
And I'll only like
NRL 360 off their backs.
Exactly. The only market I was looking at potentially, but I didn't go, it was the Parramatta under 14.5. But I do worry they'll score 3 tries and they'll kick 16 or something. I feel like 16
they
and a half.
fucked us last week and fucked me last week, but I think you as well with the last try in the end, and that's giving me a bit of nightmares. I did look at that as well, that 14.5 for Parramatta. Penrith haven't allowed that much this season.
Penrith haven't, but they scored 30 against Manly and 26 against Cronulla. So they can when they get it going, but I'm not sure if Penrith can keep them under that. But that Melbourne kept them to 12. So I think against a good defence, they'll be right. But I'm just steering clear of this one. I just tipped Penrith. And
actually, I was talking shit. I just opened up my sports bet, and I do have a play on this game. Before I let you know what it is, I'll let you know the things I considered. I looked at Penrith to score over 23.5 points because Parramatta's defense shit. Penrith have covered that in the last 2. And then I looked at the weather. I was like, if it's going to be wet and it's going to be, what if it's a big forward battle and it's just them just punching each other up the middle the whole time? They may not score 23.5 points. I was like, fuck that. I looked at Parramatta under 14.5. There's obviously the risk of them scoring 3 tries because they've also scored points in the last 2 weeks. They just can't win the game because their defense sucks. Then it brought me to what I actually landed on was either team 1 to 12. I think Penrith wins 1 to 12. That's what makes this line hard to play. But I think Penrith wins 1 to 12, but I'm playing either team 1 to 12 just in case some bullshit happens. Cleary could get injured.
Sent off. Last time he did.
Sent off. Could chin somebody in the face. But looking at it, Penrith, their only win this year is 1 to 12. Their loss is 1 to 12. Parramatta, even though their defense has been awful, they've lost every game by 4 points. Every game by 4 points. The problem is that they're losing every single game. So I think they'll be up for this one. I don't think they're good enough to beat Penrith. Penrith are fresh. They are the better team. And this is in Parramatta, right? It's not down in your hood.
No.
It's down in Parramatta as well. So
we're not at home till round 6 now, actually. Unlike the Cowboys and Broncos, we're doing a lot of travelling for a while.
Mate, we've got that Women's FIFA World Cup we need to take care of. So they're taking our stadiums. So we've got the good draw at the moment. But yeah, I'm taking either team 1 to 12. I do think Penrith wins at 1 to 12, but these odds are about $1.85. So it's right up our alley. It's what we're looking at. But I'm pretty keen for that game. All right, cool. Let's get into our slutty Saturday. No, sorry. What am I talking about? Your filthy Friday. Jeez, jump the gun, why don't you? We're not taking anything. We've got Melbourne versus West Tigers. The line in this one is 10.5 points. This one's being played out in Melbourne, I do believe. Both teams, tough to get a read on right now. The Tigers have been well under my expectations. I expected a lot more, and they've been shit every single week. Up the Tigers. Melbourne, a lot of people expected to bounce back last week after losing to the Dogs, and they failed to. Every time it looked like they were getting a roll on, they'd fuck it up. Their completion rate is awful. They just can't hold onto the ball, so leaking a lot of points. Those old blokes that left for the Finns didn't do much with the ball, but maybe without it, they're probably important pieces. You know, head high Kavusi, he's a big out.
Yeah,
so they're missing something. I just think yelling at them is not working at the moment. But in good news, I think the Mad Dog's back. Is that right?
Yes, he is. He's named, but it's a very quick recovery.
It is. Oh, look, he can beat these guys with one arm. So Cam Munster's back. Tigers already experimenting. Dewey's back at 1. Brendan Wakeham gets a start. They did look better with Wakeham. He was part of that big comeback against the Dogs. But, yeah, they're still the West Tigers. So proceed with caution, I say. I personally don't have a play on this one. I wouldn't be surprised if the Tigers win. Wouldn't be surprised if Melbourne lap them by 20. It is that unpredictable for me. Still watch it, but I can't get a gauge on this one. What about you?
No, I think, and also Jerome Hughes is currently at the judiciary, so
I know I was watching his update to see what's going on.
Yeah, so if he's not playing, and then there's Munster's a chance of not playing, then the Tigers 10.5 looks very good. But you're gambling on the judiciary and fitness. If both are playing, that 10.5 could be comfortable because they're only then Pappenhausen. I think a couple of weeks off for Munster, I think they've kind of played their hand and have to kind of rush him back. I feel like if Melbourne were 3-0, Munster wouldn't be playing this week. So yeah, I would stay away from it unless Jerome Hughes is found guilty the next hour or so, and Munster gets ruled out. Then I would be happy to take that, even down to 8.5 Tigers, because I think Melbourne, without that forward pack that you talk about, plus they're 6, 7, and 1. It's a totally different Melbourne team.
I think you've got to wait till game day.
Yeah,
see who's confirmed, who's going to play. Like I was looking at this, right? There's 34 players lining up to play this game, excluding the 18th man. And I was looking at them, I was like, how many of these players are actually playing good? From the Storm, Nick Meaney's playing good, and Harry Grant is playing good, and Katoa and Josh King. The rest of their team are playing rubbish. For the Tigers, I feel like Brett Naden is doing okay, or he's just, maybe that intercept has just skewed everything, but I feel like he's doing okay. Appy's not delivering. Clemmer's not delivering. Papali'i's nothing. Bateman, he's interesting to watch, but I don't think he's doing well. Like,
he's tiny. He's tiny for a back rower.
Yeah,
like he was. I remember he was small when he was at the Raiders, and I think the back row has gotten bigger in the last 4 years. Yeah, and watching him on the weekend, I'm like, wow. Like I think at one point he tried tackling kick out and just fell off him. I'm like,
yeah, he looks like a halfback out there.
Yeah,
so, but look, outside of that, I don't think any of these other players are playing good. So it's quite tough. Like Melbourne have a lot of better players, but a lot of them are playing shit too.
Correct.
Hughes has been great. Coates has been awful. Olam's just come back from injury. He's not great. Remus Smith's come back from injury. He's not great. Will Warbrick, I think 40% of people had him in fantasy. He's fucking shit. So
that's on one of them. You know what's the crazy thing for me is what's his name's been Norfoluma. Norfoluma went to Melbourne last year and was killing it.
Yeah.
Loving it, scoring tries, one of Melbourne's best backs at the time, doing amazing. Goes back to the Tigers with this new energy, and after 3 weeks against the club he was filling in for last year is benched. Dropped to the changes. Reserve, sorry.
Yeah, they've got a lot of depth in their backline, depth meaning there's a lot of average backline players who are all pretty much the same. You give all of them a 6 or a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm not feeling this game. I'm not fucking touching it. I'll watch it as a degenerate, but I got nothing for you.
A Tigers win would be good to see, though.
Yeah, I think. But
that'll put Melbourne 1 and 3.
I'll tell you what makes it hard for me to see them win. I was asleep when they did that whole comeback against the Dogs. I didn't even see it. I don't know what happened. I don't know how they scored. But prior to that, it looked like they had no chance.
It was weird. They just cut them up. They literally Wakeham just came on and they played direct, and all of a sudden the Dogs line just had 1,000 holes, and it wasn't like amazing play. It just opened up.
Yeah. They got lucky. Who knows? It could be a second half comeback. I got fucking no idea. So are you touching this game?
No,
and I'm not touching it either. All right, keep your hands off it. We head to the main event of the weekend. We're not taking. Am I taking something in this? Fuck yes, I am, and I hope you are too if you're a smart fella. We got the Dolphins undefeated since second on the ladder, $3.50 right now. The line's 10.5. Broncos at $1.31, where we should be every single week. Playing at Suncorp. Is this a Dolphins home game or a Broncos home game?
Dolphins.
Dolphins? We'll take it. Both teams undefeated. Someone's going to cop their first L this week. Looking at the lineups, what have we got? Unfortunately, Felice was found guilty. Fucking idiot. I don't know what he was thinking. But in good news for the Dolphins, Jared Wallace is coming back. And for my Broncos, I was worried Ezra Mann would be out, but it looks like he banged knees, bit of bruising, but he'll be sweet. So same 17 for my boys. There's no previous form between their matchups to really rely on, but Dolphins surprising everyone in the first 2 weeks. Should have won last week against Newcastle, and they thumped them in the second half. Brisbane had 2 somewhat difficult games. Penrith definitely a hard one. North Queensland, you'd say, probably think they're on par. I thought they'd both be sitting between 8 and 6 this year. And we gave it to them second half, and the Dragons, it was close until the 70th minute. And then Payne Haas fucking grew an extra arm and we destroyed them. So what are your thoughts on this one? How does this game unfold?
I think it's going to be a close, tough game.
Why do you think that?
I just think, honestly, even if you take the form out of the teams, this is the game that Dolphins, apart from the first game, would have penciled in as this is the big game for them to look forward to. So I could even say forgive them if they looked past Newcastle, because Sun called this will be 60,000. It'll be a sellout. It'll be huge. So I do have a play on this one, and I am going under 26.5 points for the Broncos.
Why?
I don't think the Broncos will score more than 26 points. I think they'll win, but I can't see this being the blowout type of game. If I look back at the Broncos, yes, they've beaten that line 2 out of 3 times. They went 28, but you take that last 10 minutes out against St. George, and I'm going way under. Dolphins, on the other hand, have kept their opponents to 20, 20, and 18. So I don't think this is going. I think again, it's going to. I don't think so. I can't see it. I could be way off, but probably am. But under 26, I think Broncos win. I'll tip Broncos, but I just don't think they'll score 26 points. I could see it be like a 20-10, 20-12 scoreline or something like that.
Jeez, you believe in Uncle Wayne, huh? I've seen him tear clubs to shreds, mate. I'll never forget what he did to me.
At the end of a club, not at the start. When he takes the club again, they go wonderful.
Now, and he does take on a new club and seems to fuck his old ones too, like even further.
Yeah.
Went to the Dragons and he fucked the Broncos for years.
Yeah.
Continuously. It was up until last week, actually. It was 6 in a row till then. Wayne Bennett curse. We had to shake him off. Look, it's an interesting play. I don't want to say that you're wrong, but I think you are. But my play doesn't necessarily counter yours, but it's obviously for my boys. I'm taking the Brisbane Broncos to cover 5.5 line in the second half. Showed it against the Cowboys, whooped them in the second half. Showed it in the last 10 minutes. We whooped these Dragons. I think the Dolphins will definitely be up for it. They're up for it every single week. There's a chance that there's an ambush nice and early where they might surprise us, but there shouldn't be. This game's been in the headlines for a couple of weeks now. Everybody's talking about it. You'd be stupid if you're a Broncos player to go into that thinking it's an easy win, because it's not like the Dolphins are dragging their feet. They're romping other teams along the way. So, but we do have a young side and young footballers, even just footballers in general. If you're, not the smartest blokes, if you put them all together, but then you get the real young ones, these dickheads caught in cocaine possession and shit like that. Like, just the dumb fucks that we have. Bit of overconfidence, perhaps, with our win streak. They might surprise us early. So I was going to go Dolphins first half, Andy, but I wouldn't be able to watch that game so if that's what I had on.
It's interesting you've picked that, because the Dolphins' second half has been very good. They've actually outscored their opponents 68-40 in the second half.
They have, but
they're very strong second half team also.
I have a counter to that. They versed the Roosters, who we know are shit in the round one every single time. They versed the Raiders, who are shit away from Canberra. And they versed Newcastle, who are fucking disgusting. They let Newcastle score 20 points.
Yeah, but it's good that you didn't take the first half line, because they were behind against the Roosters, behind against the Raiders, and only up by 4 against Newcastle. So they wouldn't. They're actually, the first halves haven't been that great. It's the second.
That was my vibe. That was my gut feel. But Brisbane -5.5 in the second half. They could surprise us. Kevy rips into the boys at halftime. Payne Haas whips out a couple offloads. Reece Walsh does some magic. Adam Reynolds seals it. Some fucking great late play. Tony Staggs roughing up Ewan Aitken, headlocking him every single time. It's going to be marvellous. Marvellous. And Patrick Carrigan's face is probably healed by now. He'll be ready to go. He'll be looking stunning as hell. Clean shaven. He'll be glistening. Natural oil from his body. It's going to be delicious. So clear your calendars, boys. You don't want to miss that game on Friday. Luke's got some stupid bet on the Broncos to score under 26. I reckon we score
I'm
that
not
in the.
I'm not saying you're gonna lose. I'm tipping you guys. Like you're basically saying you're gonna keep running it over 26.5 all year. Be
We'll
interesting,
probably
but-
score that in the second half alone. That's all I'm saying. It's a bit...
Yeah, it's true. And to be fair though, if you're on at 2 points at halftime, I'm still not convinced that you will not score 5 tries in the second half. To be fair,
Yeah. I think if anything, I think we'll slow them down in the second half because we've got to lock in. No fucking around here. Can you imagine the headlines if the Dolphins beat the Broncos? We're fucked. Absolutely. Like, we smashed the Titans and the Cowboys for like the first 5 to 10 years of their existence just to prove a point. Once that little brother bullshit wasn't relevant anymore and Wayne Bennett fucked the club over, then they started beating us. Yeah. So we'll be taking this one seriously. I'll be on the horn of Ben Eichen because can't speak to Kevy. Too much of a nice bloke. Not a great coach. Slutty Saturday. North Queensland versus Gold Coast. Another Queensland derby. This one in your second favourite hometown, North Queensland. Yeah, this was fucking tough because I don't like the Cowboys. I'm with you. I don't like them. And I want to see the Titans do a little bit better. But there's too many conflicting form lines for me, so I've decided to not touch this game, but happy to share my thoughts and opinions on it, as always. But lineup changes. Ruben Cotter is out. Ruben Cotter is out for this one. Hurt his knee at training, apparently. And for the Titans, they got the same squad this week. Unbelievable. I wonder if Kieran Foran will get hooked again. So, yeah, look, I've got nothing on this one, but what are your thoughts? You got something here? I know you don't like the Cowboys. You do.
I do have something here.
Recency bias. I can hear it.
Over 43.5.
Oh, you're taking the overs.
This is going to be, unless the weather's terrible in towns, which I don't think it will be, it is going to be a points festival up there. Both teams scoring points, but conceding. Their defense is absolutely shit. Both teams have conceded 72 and 76 points. The only teams that have conceded more than them, the only team is Parramatta. So they're the two worst defenses in the comp at the moment, playing up against each other. So I think there's going to be quite a fair few points. And now that I'm hearing Ruben Cotter's out,
more points.
More points, because he was a big loss last year when he was injured and out during the origin period for them, when they did have that little dip in form. So I'm taking the overs. Historically, between the two teams, Titans actually have had a bad couple of games against them recently. Yeah. Lost 32-6 and 30-4. So it's not jumping out to me in terms of form, but this is a different Titans team that we've seen compared to the last couple of years. They seem to be throwing the ball around a bit more and attacking, and a big reliance is on whether the halves can find touch with kicks. So if Tanner Boyd can find touch with his kick and Kieran Foran doesn't get hooked, they're a good team. So
that's a good point. Look, I do like it. I am worried. I worry that the Titans won't score enough points on the road. The Cowboys haven't scored enough points all year, but that's because their second halves are fucking awful. But they should sort that out. The team's only missing one attacking weapon, really, in what's his name? Drinkwater.
Yeah.
Tom Chester looked all right. Good running fullback. He didn't look too bad last week. But, yeah, hopefully they can put it all together and that points goes over. So if you think it's a high-scoring one, might be a good one for some try scorers, but they haven't been kind to me. The total points line's 43.5. So that's what you took?
Yep.
43.5 on this one. What do I think is going to happen in this game? Thinking through the multi that I end up putting. I think I'm fucking really unsure. I've got to tell you. There's great spot for the Cowboys in terms of a bounce back, and you could see some complacency for the Titans. These shit teams are inconsistent as hell. Titans have won, lost, won. If you're big on trends, you know what's happening. Cowboys have lost 2 on the trot. Their fans would be disappointed. Jonathan Thurston's ears would be sweating right now. But they are $1.45 favourites. So who knows? North Queensland 1-12 could be on the cards. They could romp them early and then not score in the second half. Titans hammer all these points in late. There's your 1-12.
It's interesting because if they lose this week, the Cowboys, I love thinking it because I've got money against them. They then play the Dogs in Sydney, then the Dolphins at home, but then again they go to New Zealand for the Warriors and the Knights. then it starts to get a little bit trickier up and down. But then before Origin, they got Para, Melbourne, the bye, Penrith, Souths. Like that period there, they could struggle with Origin players out. Then that's where it gets interesting. These are the games that should be winning. So I don't know.
Sorry, Luke. Andrew Abdo just giving me a call. Jerome Hughes is out for 2 weeks.
Has it moved the line yet?
He's out for 2 weeks. Has the line moved on the Melbourne game?
9.5 is coming to point.
It's come in.
Interesting. I'm tempted. You know what? I'm doing it. Chuck that in as a best bet. Tigers plus 9.5. Lock me in.
You took the Tigers?
Plus 9.5.
Jeez.
It's locked in.
I think all I thought about is like, fuck. That's pretty good for the Harry Grant owners in fantasy. That's what I'm thinking about.
Oh, it's very good for Harry Grant, but like it is the Munster show now.
Yeah. He's capable, but
it is.
I'm sticking to my guns. Not touching that fucking shit fest of a game. A game that I am touching, which is, outside of the Dolphins game, probably the best one to watch. You see the South Sydney Rabbitohs versus the Manly Sea Eagles. So, South's the favourites. They're $1.60 right now, head-to-head. The line in this one's 4.5. Manly is underdogs. The total points line is 43.5. It is at a core stadium, so Souths are at home for this one. Big outs for South. Like I've said it a few times this year that their forward pack is just missing so many people. Now, Sele, who was out like 2 weeks ago, finally came back. I could almost have sex as long as he was on the field, and that's not long. Like he was gone pretty early.
Yeah.
So he's gone. He's got a mandatory stand down. Shaq Mitchell, he's still out. Totola's out. So they're starting front rowers. Saluka Fafita and Jacob Host up against his Manly side, who's got a pretty decent forward pack. So I'm personally taking Manly on the line, but want to give you a chance to preach. Have you got a play on this game? What are you thinking?
I got a couple of plays. It's crazy, but I got a couple.
A couple? Is it Ruben Garrick?
No. It's weird, but I think I like Manly to win this game. So I'm taking Manly over 18.5 points.
Is that their points line, 18.5?
Yep. And they've gone 30.
I did look at that too. Yep.
They've gone 30-30. But I'm also taking under 43.5 total match points. So that basically is, I don't think South will score more than, say, 12, 16 points max. So I think that 43.5 is just a bit too big. I'm not confident it goes over because I just can't see. I think South are going to just get to a point where they're that depleted that they just can't create. Like, as I said, like they're missing forwards. They're just not going to do a lot. And yeah, I think South can. Yeah, so South over 18.5 and under 43.5 total points. It's a weird one, but yeah.
That's wild. So I'm probably thinking the same thing. That means Manly should cover this one. I got Manly plus 4.5 here. Main reason being is that forward pack advantage that they have. Forward packs are awesome. Gerbo's not playing lock anymore. He's actually running. He's finding his front, which is pretty good. Olakwatu is he's a scary bloke out there. He didn't make many tackles last week, but for like every tackle, he fucks somebody's life up. And then if you watch the game, people just stop running at him. It's similar to Kickout. I was watching the Dogs game, and a lot of those Nofaluma, for example, does his normal dummy half scoots, sees Kickout, and just U-turns it straight away. Olakwatu's having the same impact. They're running away. The forward pack's looking strong. Paseka's playing all right. But the biggest reason is Turbo. He looked terrible in his first game. Still played well, but couldn't stride out. His game last week, he started to look a lot better. Looked strong in the middle. Didn't see him in open space, but his involvements are very high and he's looking very strong. And I think he'll get better every single week until he finally gets injured again. That's just my opinion, but I think he's still on the upward trend at the moment, and I like that for Manly. So I'm liking Manly plus 4.5 here. The meters for Rabbitohs, I think they'll play expansive footy. They won't play that much in the middle. I think that ball's going to move around a lot. But one thing I looked into was the weather. I think it's going to be a bit wet this weekend. It's not going to be drenched. I think there's more storms than there is showers, but that doesn't suit the Rabbitohs play very well, I don't think. So their forwards can't aim up in the middle, and it's just, it's not a heavy 10. but it's soft. I think it's going to impact their ability to score some points. So I'm with you. I think you've got a big good play there. So.
Yeah, it's a bit different, but I think that it's kind of like a insurance bet for me.
Right.
Like if it goes under, then if I don't hit the 18.5 Manly, I'm probably going to go under. Whereas if I hit the over 18.5, there's still a chance that I hit the unders as well.
South of shit.
Yeah, I'm banking on South struggling. I think also last week you've got to take consideration that game against the Roosters was a war. Like they were literally at the end nearly coming to blows. So it's going to be a bit of a letdown spot for them, I feel, as well.
Yeah. How about that G-Cam send-off, by the way? What a fucking joke that was.
Yeah. But then there's little things like I've shown Cody Walker pushing a player off the ball and stuff. Like just a real grubby game.
No. The minute you could see him get angry, I was like, oh, my South play is gone. Because angry Cody is not good for South. So, no, that's beautiful. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a cracker. Two good teams. I think these are both very good teams. I think they'll be there towards the back end of the year. I don't think Souths will be in it for this one, but some great teams going at it. Pretty keen. Slutty Saturdays. I only got the 2 games this week. What's going on? 3 on Sunday. Do you know what the rationale is behind that? People need more rest, perhaps? Lazy bastards?
No, I don't. It's very interesting, actually.
Yeah. It's not that slutty. It's a mildly slutty Saturday. Anyway, speaking of Sunday, it's getting quite seedy. We got 3 games on this Sunday where upsets tend to happen. Kicking it off at 2 p.m. It's the New Zealand Warriors versus the Canterbury Bulldogs. So, Bulldogs, despite their 2-game win streak, underdogs in this one. They're at $2. The Warriors are $1.80. The line on this one is 1.5 points. Looking at the lineups, Chance Nickel-Klokstad, he is back. And Jackson Ford is back, which is great for my fucking fantasy. But our 18th man, Wade Egan, is out with a head knock, obviously. And for the Dogs, very much the same team who got it done last week against the Tigers. Dogs travelling to NZ, though, I believe. Is that an NZ?
Correct.
Mount Smart Stadium. It is in NZ. So, interesting. A bit of home field advantage there for the Warriors across the ditch. They have only played 1 game, but it was against the Knights, and they did get the win. What are your thoughts on this one? You got something to play here?
No, I'm avoiding. When the Warriors are favourite, nah, I'm not confident. Like, the Warriors could come out and they should. This is a game where it's 1.5, but they could easily lose by 30, the Warriors here. But again, they could show up and win by 30. These are the games where I just stay away from. So I will be probably tipping the Warriors just based on they haven't been amazing, but they haven't been poor, whereas the Dogs have been pretty bipolar when you look at them.
I know.
They were flogged in week 1.
They haven't put together 80 minutes yet.
No, they beat the Storm and that looked amazing, but then the Titans did the same thing last week. So the Storm line wasn't great. And then against the Tigers, they looked amazing, but they only won by 4.
Yeah. Well, they didn't work for a lot of their tries. Those long-range tries, they didn't earn those.
No, there was 2 intercept tries.
Security in that.
Yeah, and I'm not. Whereas I think the Warriors, if you look at their form this year, they've just they went up to Townsville, got the win. They only lost by 8 to the Roosters, and then round 1 they beat the Knights by 8. So the 1.5 probably bang on.
It's pretty fair, to be honest.
So
I do have a play on this game though.
Lovely.
And I was thinking Warriors because of the Dogs' shit second half. Warriors to win the second half is like $1.98 or something. But at the same time, their second half form not the best. What I did ultimately land on though is either team by 10 or less in your try bet margin, because I can see it being close. I can see it being close. The Dogs do have a better team, but they are away. They're a bit patchy. The Warriors have been playing better than expected, but I think Wade Egan out is a big loss. He's been very good for them this year. And him not being there and Freddie Lussick coming in they're going to be missing him. I'm surprised he didn't, Jazz Tavanga will probably find himself there, or possibly Dylan Walker. I would have started with Tavanga and then Dylan Walker off the bench at 9, to be honest, but I'm not the head coach. But apparently that coach, what's his name, Andrew Webster? Apparently he's pretty good. Yeah, it's good raps on him, so I've heard. But yeah, I'm picking either team by 10 or less. I think it'll be close. Evenly matched. I don't think the Dogs absolutely fold, and I don't think they'll blitz the Warriors and fall asleep in the second half. So they should be pretty much engaged in this one. Should be a close matchup, I think. Both forward packs somewhat strong. Their backs very much comparable as well, and the halves. You can argue the Warriors are playing. Their halves are better than the Bulldogs at the moment. Like Burton's scoring tries, but his actual halfback play or 5'8" play is not great. We all know about Kyle Flanagan. The best part about him is that he can kick goals because Burton can't. But for the Warriors, Sean Johnson can't run, but Tamari Martin does. Yeah. Johnson just kicks really and sets things up, and it's not flashy anymore, but it's somewhat effective and it's getting him points. So yeah, either team 1 to 10. What do you reckon? Is that
I like that bet. That's very good, actually.
You can use that bet if you want to.
No, you claim that one. I've got enough bets already, so you can have that one.
And so do I. So we're probably not touching the last 2 games on the Sunday, but let's talk through them. The next one's the Newcastle Knights versus the Canberra Raiders. Now, I was successful in picking the Raiders last week. Was I going to take them again this week? Nah. The reason why, they are away from Canberra. This game's played at McDonald Jones Stadium at 4 p.m. on Sunday. Up against the Knights. Daniel Safidi's been named, but his shoulder's apparently fucked. Jaden Brayley, he's back, and he's pretty effective. Jack Johns, probably not the best Johns player out there. Probably doesn't crack the top 3. Could be tied 4th. Who knows? But he's back, and he had a strong preseason. Frizzell might be a late inclusion. Dom Young gets dropped. About time that happens. And for the Raiders, I think you were waiting for this guy to come back, Papali'i. And he's back. He's back, baby. But the Raiders are away from home and they've been fucking average. So personally not touching it. The Raiders at $1.45 is a little bit short. The line is 6.5 though. For your Knights fans, 6.5 is a nice line to take. I don't like the Knights.
No, I don't like them either. If we look at the only common team that they both played, the Dolphins, and the Knights lost by 16 and the Raiders lost by 6. So that leaves you about 8-10 points difference, which is basically bang on the line, taking the fact that Knights are at home, whereas Raiders are away. Raiders have been competitive in terms of score, like it's close, but they just play the same football. And I honestly am not going to be taking Raiders to cover a line until I can see Xavier Savage in that team. That's basically
going to be a long time.
I've
covered the last two. Last 2 against the Raiders, they've covered this. And I'm pretty sure the Knights were just as shit now as they were last year. So same shit team.
For basically, just as long as the Tigers have been shit, the Knights have been shit. So last year they lost by 6 at home. Then in Canberra they lost by 2. Then 10 at home. Then 8. Then 16 back in 2020. Does a COVID year, but I'm staying
on the Knights.
Yes,
I think it was last year. A lot of people saying, "Oh, all the Knights really need is a 7." That's what they're missing. They're missing a 7. They were running with that fucking Scottish looking bloke, and they had Clifford there for a bit.
They went after Brooks as well, remember?
Yeah, they're after Brooks. They just needed a 7, and they got Hastings, which a lot of people would agree that at the time Hastings was much better than Brooks. Why the fuck would anyone want Brooks? Hastings is here, not delivering. He's famous for his post-game antics. What is the problem with the Knights? If they actually have a 7, you could say he was in the top half of the 7s last season in a terrible team. What the hell's wrong with him? Is it the coach?
I think it's the culture of the club. I think just like if you look at the shit they get up to, like Clement did have a falling out with the trainer there that week. Then he had Ponga with his head knocked, and he's in the pub and the toilets involved, mate. I'm not saying clubs are clean and they don't do that stuff, but there's just a real arrogance. There's a real arrogance about them, like a real arrogance about that squad, and they
got Gamble.
They got Gamble there, and they were carrying on and shit talking the Tigers, like fuck, it's the Tigers, and really nothing to be fucking chirpy about. Like, there's just something about like that club there, like someone, but like you look at that team, you see Lockie Miller. Like Lockie Miller's a good fullback.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Like he's no Ponga, but he's not paid anything close to 1.4 million. That Ponga's on. Imagine having that 1.4 mil they could go out and get Moses, for example,
Sure.
or like a good next level halfback. That team would be so much better. That's all I can say. Like people like Bradman Best, like what the fuck's happened to them?
They need some strike second rowers. Second rowers are shit. Your best second rower is bloody Frizzell. He's not a strike second rower, Just does his job.
They got players like your Frizzells, your Dane Gaggai's who are so far past.
Gagai hasn't done anything this year. He's waiting for Origin. Just waiting.
Jaden Brayley,
keeps getting injured. He's good, but he keeps getting injured. Kurt Mann, he's a lock now. I don't understand. He's strange decisions. Look, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen in that game, but I'll have a bet on it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And closing out the round, this is a bit of a rivalry. St. George versus Cronulla. Cronulla are the favourites here after going down in Canberra last week. 5.5 point line. If you like head-to-heads, Dragons are 260, Knights 150. This is in Strata Jubilee. Expecting a little bit of rain. I know that because I was looking at the overs player for the Dragons, knowing that Cronulla always have high-scoring games. Looking at lineups, Michael Molo makes way for Toby Crouchman. Now, Michael Molo was actually somewhat strong last week against Brisbane. Talatau Amone and Aaron Woods are on the reserves. But I guess the biggest inclusion is Nicho Hynes. Nicho Hynes is back for Cronulla. And I was thinking of backing against him. I was like, what are the chances that this bloke suffers from a little bit of rust? Just a little bit. His hair might not be as wet as it usually is. His timing could be a little bit off. And I also thought, what if he doesn't make that much of a difference? Because Cronulla haven't had a problem scoring. Trindle's been very good, believe it or not.
Correct. Yeah, they have, yeah.
So I was like, how many extra points does he add to this line by the inclusion of Nicho Hynes? So I was questioning a lot, really. And then, when there's too many questions, you do the smart things. So I'm not touching it. So I can't handicap this game. The weather fucked me. These lineup changes fucked me. Ben Hunt, he did nothing last week.
Yeah.
Nothing. He didn't try to do anything, which was strange. And it was working for a little bit, but yeah, it was maybe we'll see a big game out of him, unless he's decided I don't give a fuck anymore. You guys need to do more because I carried his last year. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
Cronulla, St. George.
Hey? You got two bets in this game.
2 bets. I told you. I had bets this week.
What have you got?
7. I got 7 total this week. I've actually gone. I've been generous. I had 2 bets. I have the Dragons to cover the line plus 5.5. You're right about Nico. He's going to obviously help them, but their attack's fine. It's not. He isn't a defensive halfback who suddenly slides in a team and gives them that defensive shape, because that game last week, they weren't they gave some opportunities to the Raiders, but they just couldn't. Anytime the Raiders went down there, they crashed and banged and fell over. It wasn't like they were under pressure for 80 minutes on their line and they cracked. It was they had plenty of chances. Whereas I've liked the Dragons for the first basically 140 minutes of this year. Their last 20 they played against the Bronx, no, but their first 140 this year. Whoa. Yeah, basically. Their first 140 minutes have been good. They flogged the Titans, and they were ahead for 60 minutes against the Broncos, who are top of the table. So I'm taking them there to hold the line at plus 5.5. I've also going to take. I know you talked about the weather, but I still think this will go over. Because again, Broncos did show at the end that they're not perfectly defensively. Both teams leaking points. So I'm expecting a few soft tries, because I think that's where the theme of these overs have come from, is some really soft tries. Like you go back to last Thursday, Parramatta Manly, that last 10 minutes, I think it was 5 tries or something in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. I could see Jack Bird getting over. Very similar.
Yeah, just very, very soft tries. Then you go to even the Friday night game, there was literally a try in the 78th minute for Souths, and Souths threw the ball around and had a chance to even win it. The Broncos game, points at the end. They're just soft tries they're letting in. Dogs, Tigers.
So you're looking at the total points?
Yeah, over 43.5, because I think a lot of these teams, they're showing that they do laps for a period of game and they just get punished. So
I think that's honestly a good play. I could see 46, 50 points in this one based on how both teams have played so far this year. And the weather's not always right, but it's fucking Tuesday night. On the day, I'll suss it out. I got a man out there near the stadium. He'll check the skies for me, give me a bit of. He'll tell me the dew point and everything. So
lovely.
Might be something to get on. So you're taking the Dragons to cover and the total points to go over.
Yep.
All right. Well, maybe the Dragons over 18.5 points could get you aroused as well.
Ooh, might, but I'm taking the 7 bets here. We're not being greedy.
Come on, you got to round it out to 8. Well, you can get it for I think $2, or it's over $2. The Dragons score over 18.5 points. Now, Cronulla have allowed more than 20 points in every game. And they allowed 24 to the Crash and Bash Raiders.
They do.
Surely the Dragons throw more at him. So that was my angle, and that's why I was going to take him. But the 18.5 scared me off. 17.5, I would have thrown everything at it. But scared me off that 1 point. The Dragons might drop 30 on them. Who knows? But I'm very serious about having a great record this season. They are tracked. If you want to see how we're performing, it is in the description of this video, and the description of the Spotify bullshit that Luke's going to take care of. But that wraps up this week's episode. We went in for 51 minutes. We went deep. Bit of live news from the judiciary. Luke's got 77 bets on this week, so it's blown things out. And I'm me, and I tend to talk when I shouldn't be. So, look, we appreciate you guys for watching. If it's your first time, sub to this fucking channel. We're so close to getting 1,000 subscribers. Get amongst that. If you love talking about sports and betting, jump into our Discord. Everything we do is free. On top of these picks, I do a same-game multi for every single NRL game, even though I shouldn't. But the graph I showed earlier shows that it's working. We're at 14 units after 3 weeks, based on only 2 units per play. So get amongst it, lads. Luke, absolute pleasure once again.
Likewise.
It's been a while since I've heard this song, but let's play the outro, baby. Have a good one, everybody.
Peace.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.